Hello and welcome. It's a bit different here today where we're going to be painting away the stress of everyday life here in Wales, and I'm currently looking for a field of cows because I thought it would be fun if we actually painted some cows today, because I did one with Grandpa Joe the other week for the children. I thought it would be nice if we did one for the adults, so I'm just going to see if I can find some. Old Farmer Giles standing here at the fence. I found some sheep so far. I'm actually walking towards a couple of cows. I hope they're not bulls, but I used to work on a farm, so I feel quite safe. Wise thing to do is spook a bullock. I've learned that by experience over the years, so I'm just going to slowly make my way back and see if I can find some more. Called the cows over. Come on! Come on! Yes, so I went in that field, as you've seen, looking at those bulls. They were funny. They got characters, tell you, they've got characters. I worked on a farm for many years in my childhood, in my youth, I should say. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I'm actually painting on paper today. And if you want to know what paper I'm painting on, it's actually this from Arteza. It's 11 by 14 inch, £246. And I've got an affiliate link with this, so if you want to pop along and check them out, use my affiliate link. You'll get a little discount and I'll get a little bit of money as well, so it all helps to fund the old studio. So Arteza, I've used their paints, so I thought let's use the acid-free heavyweight paper, which is glue bound, and it's ideal for both oils and acrylics, and it's got a lovely little texture to it as well. Now, the reason I've decided to use paper today is because I've recently just come back from a London trip with Jason. But before I talk about that, let's just have a quick look at the palette. And as you can see, the palette, I've got just a number of colours there. I'm not too sure how this is going to work, but we'll wing it, as they say. I got some mid-yellow, I got some raw sienna, I got some yellow ochre, I got some Prussian blue, I got some cerulean blue, I got some black, some burnt umber, and I got some white. I just got a selection of brushes that I thought I was going to use. And going back to what I said about the London trip, and Jason actually taught me, or has been teaching me how to use watercolours, and as you can see, these are just a few paintings that I've done using watercolours that I've learnt from Jason Bowen. Check his channel out, please. And I've just been painting on this card. It's a scrapbook. It is a scrapbook. Yes, you can get these in the range in the UK. This book is about £12, but it's quite nice. Sort of. That was a blank day. So you can see I've been practicing quite a lot with watercolours. This is watercolours and gouache, and I will be doing lessons on these. But at the moment, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to be teaching bad habits. But as you can see in this little scene, I was playing around with cows and sheep and chickens and all that type of thing. So I thought it would be nice, because I did a lesson with Grandpa Joe a couple of weeks ago. We painted a cow. I thought, well, let's go out in the field, let's paint some cows, and let's see if we can paint it in acrylic on paper. Now, this is a totally different concept than painting on canvas. Trust me, it does make a difference. I've stuck the paper down with a little bit of masking tape just to stop it from warping, because once it gets wet it could warp. But well, let's just see how it goes. Anyway, enough of the waffle. You need to get into the painting. I've taken the liberty of sketching my cows. These are the cows that I did, as you've seen in the beginning of the video. These are the cows that I took pictures of and I sketched out. So they are the cows that I've decided to put into the scene there. Now with painting on paper in acrylics, it doesn't matter how thin you make this paint. It doesn't matter. There is no rule with acrylics when it comes to paper, because paper is absorbent. It only happens when it's on a substrate like canvas panel or canvas, and that's when you've got to be careful of flaking. So yeah, you can thin it down as much as you want. In fact, you can use it like a watercolor. In fact, you could use it on watercolor paper. So I want to look for a dirty grey type of sky. I'm going to put some Prussian blue and some black. I'm going to put some white to that. And I want this because it was you can see I'm going to thin this right down. It was quite a horrible day out there, and I want that grey effect. Now I'm going to be using this like a watercolor, very wishy-washy. It might run, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've painted on paper, but we're going to just kind of put some light wash of colour. And don't forget, this is unlike watercolor. Once this is dry, it's dry. It's not going to reactivate. Watercolor reactivate when it gets wet again. So if this dried and I went over there with a wet brush, I'd actually be able to lift the paint up. So be careful with this. All it is a very thin coat of acrylic paint. That's all it is. So we had a nice horrible windy grey. It was a horrible day out there. The rain was falling, and I had a difficulty in videoing because I had to dive in and out the showers. So there we go. Just let that dry. Simple as that. It is simple as that. So we let that dry, because if we go over that too much, what's going to happen is we're going to start to lift and break the paper up. That's another thing we've got to think about. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix a little bit of green. So let's get some yellow ochre there. Let's just move my brushes out the way. This is going to be a wishy-washy type of painting. This is not like you would normally associate acrylics, which is a thick type of painting. Let's get a little bit of cerulean blue in there. I want a dark green, was it Prussian blue? It was, wasn't it? I think it was. And let's chuck some burnt umber in that. Let's darken that green up. Well, just a little bit thicker this time. I'm not used to using acrylics in this way. So I want to put some, I'm just going to fluff up some trees or bushes or whatever they were, and bring that down to our cows. And what you've got to remember is you can quite easily go from this into watercolors. It's basically the same type of thing. So I thought, well, let me introduce you to acrylics first. And what we're looking for is that watercolor type of effect. That's what I'm trying to find here, because these cows were quite close to the hedge. So we don't want to do a lot of perspective in this. We don't want to do a lot of depth, because as one of your first paintings with this technique, you want to just try and get it down first. And the good thing is, with this and not watercolors, as I said, these do not reactivate. So you can put it in quite thinly like this, and then we can add layers on top of that later on. And painting on paper like this, what it's going to do is going to give you practice. Very easy to be able to practice on paper like this with acrylics, because you can always progress then onto a different level when you're painting on canvas. So you can paint a bit thicker, and you can play around a bit more, and you can also start to understand like watercolors. You can start to understand the watercolors as well. The name of the game as you've heard me say before so many times, is loose. Be loose and free. It's not all about being 100% perfect. And the way to learn is just to keep practicing and practicing. Just have fun. Well, these cows were really funny when I was in the field, because they seen me walking up, and this one big cow put his head up and he looked at me and went, "Moo." I thought, whoops, I don't think it's an heifer. I don't think it's a lady cow. I don't think it's the one that gives milk. I think it's the one that chases you across the field with his horns up. And I've worked on farms for a number of years in my lifetime. So what I'm going to do now is, which you can do, is get the hairdryer and just dry that off quickly. There we are. Just got to dry that off quickly. I'm just going to pick up a little short flat. I'm just going to pick up a bit of water, pick a bit of white. Where's our dirty colour that we made? There we are. Just mix a bit of that into that. And let's just put a few. Let's make it a little bit darker, a bit more Prussian blue into that. A little bit of black. Because these clouds were quite horrible looking clouds. There wasn't actually any, you couldn't actually define the shapes of these things in the sky. They were just really all over the shop. It was a proper stormy looking day, like that. I just loosely put that in. There wasn't much white in the sky, I noticed. It was just a horrible looking grey day, as normal days are in Wales. Well, we had a wonderful trip in London, and I learned so much from all these wonderful works of art that we've seen. And I highly recommend, if you can get to the UK, or you're in the UK, get to London and go around and look at Tate Britain and the National Portrait Gallery and the National Gallery of Britain, and the British Museum, the Natural History Museum. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful place. And Jason and I had a wonderful time there. And as I said, Jason was teaching me the basics of watercolors. So I've been constantly working with watercolors this last several days, I think. And that's it. Just put in some cloud formations. What you can do with it, you can use this as a study. In fact, this is not a bad idea. What I'll do is I'll use this as a study painting, and then I'll move on to a small canvas and I'll repaint this, and maybe I'll put that up for sale. So if I do that, keep an eye out. It'll be on the Learn to Paint with Clive Facebook page, where I've got a little shop there if you want to pop along for products and things like that, and I'll be posting some paintings in there as well if you want to purchase a couple of them, because all the money will be used to go into the studio with, and I'll be using that then to fund my trips with Jason in places like London and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be good. So we might do that, in fact. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to this green, a little bit more blue. Just want to blue that up just a touch, maybe touch of brown. There we are. A lot more brown and green than you think. Well, let's have a look. Let's just put some loose shadows in here and there like that. And it's tended to add a bit of a slope. Maybe it's coming down like that a little bit. It's a bit lighter that side, so let's go into a little bit of yellow. Don't be concerned about being too accurate with things. If this is going to be a study, I'll notice a lot of Turners and stuff in Tate Britain. He did a lot of study paintings, and these could be used, as I said, these could be used just as a study painting. So don't get put off. Don't get put off by that at all. Just put a little bit of texture in there like that. Don't get hung up on detail. Again, Jason taught me that it's nice to be loose. There we are. The detail can be in the cows, can't it? The detail will be more towards the front than the back. We've got a little bit of depth going on there. In fact, I might actually get a bit more brown and a little bit of black into that green. I might actually give these trees another bit of a darkness to them. Just looking at them. Just here and there, just create a little bit of depth, a bit of shadow. There you go. And don't forget, the stuff in the front is going to have to be this is going to have to be a lot darker there than that to balance it off a bit. So just washing our brush very quickly. I want to bring in a bit more warmth, a bit of raw sienna into this green now, a bit of blue, a bit of yellow, a bit of white, a bit of raw sienna. I'm waiting, playing around with it until I get that type of colour I'm looking for, really. I don't want it too bright. Let's just see what that looks like. What I've done is made my paint too thick, so I'm just going to wash my brush quickly, dip it in some water. There we are. So make more of a wash. So you want more of a wash than a thick paint. There we go. Just bringing in some light there. Bit of yellow. Just yellowed it up a little bit towards the front there, like that. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop playing around with the green. I'm going to wash my brush. I'm going to look at my cow and see if we can't work on our cow. I've opened my phone up now and I'm going to have a look at some of the footage I took. There you go. I don't know if you can see that, but these are the cows that I took when I was out in location. So I'm just going to use them as a reference, and I may change them a little bit as well. I think I may change them a little bit as well. So what we need to do is use a detailing brush now. So I'm going to go into some black and add some Prussian blue. Prussian blue and black will make like a lovely Payne's grey type of colour. So I don't want it perfectly black at the moment. So I'm just gonna paint my first cow. Oh. This is totally different to painting on canvas. If you've you'll find it is difficult. Not difficult, but you'll find it at first it's very strange to paint on paper than after going on canvas and things like that. They're totally different, they really are. And you just need a little bit more concentration on this bit. So following my references, a couple of my cows that I took were black, completely black, and I don't want a completely black cow. I want something that's more of a Frisian. A Frisian has got more black and white. Frisian has got more white in it than black. You've got Aces as well. They're more of like a light raw sienna type of colour. Yeah. They're quite nice. They're from Scotland. They are Aces. Got Jerseys. Jersey milk is really nice to drink. Quite a creamy type of milk. Jersey milk. It really is. Studies. Take some watercolours out. Get some watercolour pencils or take some watercolours with you when you go out into the field, literally, and just go for it. That's all I suggest you do, is really just go for it, because I want a little bit more of a grey down there. I want to separate that edge. Lost edges was another thing that I was taught by Mr. Bowen as well. Didn't think I had much more to learn as far as painting is concerned, but I'll tell you, it's quite surprising really that a lot of artists have got different techniques and they've been taught in different ways, and when you actually get to talk to these people, you'll learn a lot from them. And painting on paper is certainly different, but I'm sure, give it a try and you'll enjoy it. I'm getting used to now of putting more water in with my paint, and I like to see these little rough brush strokes. If you haven't already seen the trip that we did to London, then I'll put them in the iCards. It is certainly worth checking out, because if you've never been to London, it's a good way to actually see the galleries and things that we visited, and see the way that London is such a busy city. And being a country boy, I get quite a bit discombobulated with the old city rush. There we are. We'll put let's mix a bit of grey now. Just going down. And add a little bit of blue to the grey. Adding plenty of water to it. Bit more white. It's not grey enough, it's not white enough. If you can't find the colour you're looking for, just play with it a bit. You'll get there. You will get there. We're just putting a bit of underlining shadow at the moment, just to get some form and shape to these cows. I'm just going to check my cameras. Hello, cameras. Sometimes they decide they don't want to work for me, and there we are. Have a bit of fun. Paint away the stress of everyday life with very thin acrylics and paper. Who knows? You might enjoy it for your studies, and then you can take what you've learnt and your design then onto paper. I think his legs needs to come a bit more like that. I'm talking too much. So just put a little bit of colour down there. All I'm going to do is wash my brush. And I want to introduce you to something. This is a Eco Clean product that I produce, and it is in place of turpentine and things like that, so you can use this for oils. You can use this for both oils and acrylics. It's non-toxic, and it's got a lovely orangey smell to it. And what I do with this is I put that into a little bowl like this. There we go. I put that into a little bowl like that. Just a spot, and you can reuse this. You don't have to throw that away. And then I wash my brush in a normal way. I take the excess off. There we are. I'll just move this camera. I'll take the excess off my brush like that. That removes all the pigment because there's a little pad in there. And then I rub it through some soap, and I put it back in there, and I rinse that through with the water like that. And that's what I do during my cleaning process of my brushes. But at the end of the day, or the painting session, I got that lovely stuff there, this Eco Clean, which is a really good product. I urge you to go and check it out. And all you need to do then is just rinse your brush through that, which is a clean brush. You can use this to thin down water mixable oils as well if you wanted to, only in small amounts though. And this is what I use it for, is I rinse it through like that, and then I get a dry brush like that, and there's no residue left in that brush, and it treats those bristles like they're best friends. And they keep all the shape of the brush, and there's a lovely smell of orange to it. And I tell you what, if you want to condition your brushes and look after them, that is the stuff to get. So that's Eco Clean, available on the shop www.clive5art.co.uk. Please pop along and check that out. Okay. So nice clean brush. Now we're going into some white. Just a touch of water, just to get it to flow. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that blue colour, because I don't want it perfectly white, because these cows have been lying down in the grass. And I'm just going to paint that in like this. And what we're going to do then later on is I'm going to add some brighter white to it. But at the moment all we want to do is just block out that. Now working on paper, again, you can use several layers of paint if you want to and build this up, but I quite like the roughness and the rawness of working with paper. Once you start getting used to using thin acrylics like this, as I said, there's no rule. You can thin acrylics down as much as you want on paper, because paper is absorbent. Not so much obviously on canvas and stuff like that, because you do need to follow the 40% rule. If you don't know what that is, basically what they say is they don't thin acrylics down more than 40% or 45%, because they will have a tendency of breaking down and flaking. But because of the nature of paper, paper is absorbent, that will never happen. It will never happen. Can you use acrylics on watercolor paper? Well, that's the next question I think is going to be asked, and I said yes, it is. Yes, you can. You can thin them down even more if you want to with watercolor paper. As I said, the only difference is that this will not reactivate. So if I got a damp brush, there we go, if I got a damp brush, I've just tipped it in some water and I go onto there, there's no paint that will actually come back up. My sticky stuff is coming off. If you do that with watercolors, you will find that the paint will actually come off the surface of the paper. So that's not what you want. Yeah, well, you could use it as blending. I am actually playing around with different techniques with watercolor. It's what I call the wishy-washy type of painting, which is the traditional type of acrylic watercolor painting, where you were painting wet in wet and things like this, and I could never ever get on with that at all. I found it quite hard, in fact. But I've found a technique now that my good friend Jason Bowen is teaching me, with the use of gouache as well. Gouache is all gouache is a chalkier watercolor. That's all it is. It's got chalk in it, and it makes it more opaque. And you can make watercolors and stuff yourself if you've got the mind to do that. If you've got the mind to make your own paints. Then there's a painting series that I'm doing. I'll put that in the iCards for you, of how to make your own paints, and you can actually save yourself so much money you wouldn't believe it. On our recent trip to London, we went into this shop. I won't mention the name. We went to this old-fashioned shop. It's one of the oldest painting shops in London, and it had all this type of paint, like golden and Liquitex and all these wonderful paints that you can buy. And Jason said, "You're not buying any paint?" I said, "No, Jason, because all modelling paste and glazing mediums and texture pastes and all these wonderful things." I said, "I can make it myself at home." Because you don't need a degree in science to be able to do that. All you need is the information. And I will give you that for free. Just check out some of my playlists, and then you will find that it's a lot easier to make these things than you think. So why spend the money? That's what I say. Why give these big manufacturers the money when you can make it yourself? Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, that's all these artists did, was make their own paints, mull their own paints, and they saved themselves a fortune. They really did. There's my first little cow. Let's just give her a little mark like that so we know where his eyes are. Right, I'm going to go on now, and we're going to paint the next two cows, and I'm going to use the same process for that. I'll just start this one off. I'll just wash my brush. Go into some black. And I'm not going to bore you with another two painting of cows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this a little bit up, and then once I've put the cows in place, we can talk a little bit more then about the rest of the painting. Okay, so I sped that up a little bit. What I'm going to do now is just go in to some white. I actually just did a bit of live filming then on my Facebook page, which is Learn to Paint with Clive. Please check it out. I'll put the links below. I'm just going to brighten up some of the white now on Old Daisy here. Or it could be Brian actually, because I think these are bulls. Brian the cow. Let's wash that because it's a big grey. I want it bright white. Just putting it one side. Brian, how are you, Brian? Oh, moo. Okay. Pays to be mad sometimes. It does. Gotta be mad. Gotta enjoy yourselves in the studio. Why not? We spend too much time being all uptight and stressed in our lives. It doesn't pay. It doesn't pay. It brings you nothing but heartache at the end of the day. Stress is a horrible thing. I've been suffering from stress for quite a long time now, and I have to say that it's not a nice thing at all. It really is not. So as you can see, I'm just being loose with this. I wanted to look like that watercolor type of effect and step away from that acrylic look. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm trying to get. Just a looseness. If you can get this looseness with acrylics, you can do watercolors so easily, and it's a wonderful thing to do. In fact, is to move from one medium to another. It really is. I don't know why I put a blotch of white there, but it doesn't matter. It gives you so much flexibility and the ability to just pop outside and paint away that stress of everyday life in the countryside, and just sit down on your own holiday taking some watercolors with you. Because watercolors, then you don't need a great deal of kit. You really don't. We'll put some grass in there in a minute. You don't need a great deal of kit to get that, to take it with you, really. Study paintings are the way to go. And that's something I have learned from my trip to London with my dear friend Jason Bowen. And he is a very dear friend, old Jason. That's a bit small. I wanted something a bit bigger than that. I'll do. Maybe go for that one. Just increase the black. I'm putting this on a little bit thicker, a little bit neater, but less water now, just to get that colour that I want. Oh, my belly's rumbling. My belly wants food. Oh, you want to check that Grandpa Joe one out? That is so funny. The kids love it. Absolutely love Grandpa Joe. We're going to be doing a chicken or something next. I'm sure it's going to be a chicken. I think that's what he's got planned. But check it out. It's an adult painting as well. You know, you can, if you want to paint along with myself and Joe, then please do that. He's going to be making regular appearances now for the children, and we have got a list of things from you wonderful subscribers asking for paintings and things like that, because I get loads of emails every week. I get loads of comments. I got 7,500 people following me on Learn to Paint with Clive alone, That's without another 4,500 I've got on my other pages, and I've got other groups as well, and Instagram. People following me on there, so check it out. Just look for Clive 5 Art on Instagram, and there's plenty of posts on there, regular posts on there, things that I'm doing in the studio and stuff like that. So please check it all out. It's important to keep up with what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm doing half the time myself, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'll do. Look, I'm happy with that. Okay, it's not perfect, but I don't want it to be perfect. It's a study. It's 3 cows in a field. Can I take this on to a different to a different level? Yes, I can. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a little bit more grass into this. I'm going to get some more light. I'm going to get some more light into this grass area here, like that. Just put a bit of light in, like that. And this is what study paintings is all about. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, and I'm so pleased that I was introduced to watercolors. I can't thank my friend Jason enough for that. I really can't. He's taught me so much. In such a short space of time, I managed to find a new genre. It's not easy to say, genre. Right, let's mix some dark green. Let's get some blue. And some burnt umber. Some blue. Some yellow. A little bit of black. Let's get some grass effects coming in. Just flicking up a little bit with the brush. Just getting that, like as if it's just coming into the foreground like that. Maybe just a touch of texture there, just so you can see that starting to break up a bit like that. Yeah, it just brings it forward a touch. And get some nice dark. Ray, let's go dark. Let's go dark, 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 dark. Jason said to me in London, Clive, you've got to go dark. Got to go dark. Go dark. Keep going dark. He really did. So let's put some dark in. Get rid of that cronky leg. There we are. Just put a few tufts in. Because here is going to be long grass. Because they've just come up to the fence to see me. Oh, there was a farmer's gate there. There was sheep in the other field. But we might do some sheep. Because I can't do a Welsh painting without sheep. Because that's what happens around Wales. There's loads of sheep around Wales. I'm going to need a script liney brush. That's one of those long, thin, pointy brushes. Let's get a little bit of white over to there, like that. Really thin. Doesn't matter how thin this is. Put some grass in. Let's get it lighter. It's got to go lighter. We got to go lighter. Yeah, just few. Just go for it. That's that fun. Just don't worry about it. Just go for it. What can you do wrong, really? You can't do anything wrong, really, can you? It's your painting. You can do what you like. You can't do that. Why can't I do that? It's my painting. If I want to do that, I can do that. Don't let people put you down. This is the thing with art these days, is people are criticising you, and at the end of the day, if you were painting just to relax or painting just to have fun, then who's to say that what you were doing is wrong? Nobody has got the right to tell you and put you down. If you want critique, that's a different thing. If you want the paintings critiqued, then you say, how am I doing? Could you give me some advice on this? That's a different concept. But if somebody just says to you, you shouldn't do that, that's wrong. Why are you using black? There's no blades of grass that are black. Oh, they might be. Who's to say there's not? So there's my moan for the day. Put some nice grass in like that. There's our little study of 3 cows in a field. Thank you very much for joining me here, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit of my walk in the beginning to show you around where I live. And there are sheep and cattle and all these wonderful things. I might do it again on another trip. So thank you very much for joining me in the studio, painting away the stress of everyday life here in Wales with me. Don't forget, please click the subscribe button if you've liked what you've seen today, and give me a thumbs up. Leave me comments, because I read every single one. And well, from me and the boys, thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Bye. Moo.